right. Well, welcome to another edition of Groundhog Day. It's Inside BBI with John and Eric. I'm John McDevitt. With me, as always, senior editor of Big Blue Interactive, Mr. Eric Kennedy. Eric, I feel like we've had this conversation 23, 24. Here we are in 25. You could jump back before 19, 20, 21. It is getting repetitive, but for the last 3 years, Giants are 2-7 after 9 games. Here we are. First off, we had a little bit of a break. People were freaking out. We're not going anywhere. Same glass. What are you drinking there? What's in yours?
Hoppin' Nomad IPA still, my last one. So
all right, I went a little stronger. I went with gin and tonic. I have aviation gin. I got the aviation gin in there, and a little Publix tonic, and then some lime. I didn't have a lime, so I had to do lime juice, but good enough. So anyway, there we are. Holy crap! I cannot. If you told me at the end of preseason, and you know how I felt, you know how I felt about the schedule. I didn't care. Scheduled, and even now, after 9 games, I still don't care. The schedule has nothing to do with where we are right now.
Mm-hmm.
But if you had told me with the good feeling coming out of training camp that we would be sitting after 9 games thinking, A, Jesus, can this season end soon enough? B, can we get rid of at least the head coach? And I know that's half measures to a lot of people, but for God's sakes, you've got to do something. And then C, what are we going to do with a roster that is still at the bottom of the NFL in salary cap with some of the worst players in the league? How did this happen?
Terribly run organization as I wrote in my preview, it's a failed business model. These people don't know how to run a successful team, and they survive because they're in a league that subsidizes all 32 teams with the television contract, but they don't know how to run a team. So it's beyond a shadow of a doubt now that the ownership is the problem, because they can't hire or won't hire the right people, and it's just over and over again. Like you said, it's Groundhog Day. Here we are again. I mean, wake me up when this nightmare is over, because we're exactly where we've been for the last 14 years. It's just over and over and over again. It's like that movie. You hit the Sonny and Cher is playing, and you hit the stop button, and you're like you're living through the nightmare again. So it's awful, because what's weird is BBI poster Big Blue Rise posted earlier in the week. They've done the impossible. They have the most exciting rookie quarterback in the league, but the fans are tuning the team out because they're tired of this. So how do you do that? How do you have like this exciting, cool quarterback, and yet everyone, like, the stadium was controlled by the 49er fans? But that's where we're at right now. I mean, Dart's got to be looking around going, what the hell is this? Giant fans stink. But he doesn't know the backstory. He doesn't know the beatdown that these fans can. This fan base is way different than it was in 2011. It's
without a doubt.
Way different. I mean, that's a long time. That is like you and I have been talking about. That's a lost generation there, and people are checking. They've checked out of this team, and Dart doesn't know that. So he must be thinking these got to be the worst fans in the league, because he hasn't experienced. He doesn't know what's transpired during that time period.
So we're probably going to jump around a little bit. So I'll make no apologies for that ahead of time, just because where we're at, it's more like this is really going to be more discussion than a lot of things. But there was something that I do want to talk about real quick, but I was able to get some behind the scenes footage. So it's actually kind of, I want to share that first, and then we can kind of discuss it. But there was some talk about what may or may not have occurred after the Denver game, and luckily I was able to get some kind of really secretive behind the scenes stuff.
It's not funny. In fact, it's pretty freaking unfunny.
Obviously, John Mara was pretty upset, and then he kind of had this to say.
You're fired.
So apparently, somehow from there, they talked him back. If you believe what has been talked about, they talked John Mara back from "you're fired" from that that whole thing. I'm not buying that whole thing, by the way. The rumor that John Mara was going to fire Daboll after the Denver game.
Yeah.
Let's back that up just
Who
for
knows? I mean, that's
well,
the kind of shit
but-
that people throw against the
for
wall.
for a logical point, right? It started online with Nikki Geist, whatever her name is. She's very big, plasticky chest, big hair, big lips. She does a lot of Giant stuff online and a lot of other shit. I'm not making
I
it up.
don't know who this is.
A lot of other people know who it is. She posted on X that's what she was told by sources. Then later you saw, is it Sean Morass of FAN, whatever, however you pronounce his last name? He then presents it that he was told by multiple sources the same thing. Even though he didn't mention her, he said the same thing. I'm not buying it, and here's why. John Mara seems like the guy that would take he's the last person you're going to convince to do something rash out of nowhere to do that. Keep in mind, let's look at the time frame. 10 days prior, Brian Daboll is giving him the game ball, talking about what a tough guy he is, battling cancer. And you think because the Giants blew the game against Denver in which they were winning, that he was like, fire Brian Daboll? Didn't happen. That did not happen. I don't care what they try to say. That's just not John Mara. I would have been thrilled if he did fire him after that game. I would have been like, finally, you just couldn't take it and you did it. There's no way in hell that happened.
I have no idea. I don't know. It could be true. I have no idea. I'm just watching and listening at this point, and I just know that it's a shit show. We're watching. I mean, we've been, again, sound like a broken record. We've been in this situation before. The record's exactly the same as you said. The last 3 years, we're 2-7. 3 years in a row. It's 2-7. But it's been in previous regimes. It's been the same thing. We've been in this. We've been in this. In a situation where the second half of the season is just a countdown to get the season over. So we wait all year for the season to start. We're all excited about the draft, free agency, training camp, and then reality sets in. And by October, the team's out of it, and then we're all waiting for the season to be over. And while everyone else is still like, there's a playoff hunt, there's a playoff chase, everyone else is in it. We're sitting there going, when is this going to be over? When is this going to be over? And it's like we're given a half season of shitty football where we think we might have a chance. And then the second half is even worse shitty football where we're just waiting for it to be over and the beatdowns get worse and worse. And we've been through this over and over and over again. And here we are again. I know how the second half of the season is going to go, just like the other ones. It's going to be beat down after beat down after beat down. And you're going to see fan interest go like that. And I have never seen a post-game thread on BBI as with fewer comments than the one after the last game. There were like 89 responses like 2 hours after the game. And I don't blame people. It's like, yeah, before, after a Giants loss, we'd get tons of posts because people were venting. People don't want to vent anymore because it's the same shit. So
so Limelight, to that, the rumor is the other way around. The rumor is that it wasn't Joe Schoen that was wanted, that it was ownership, and then somehow ownership was talked out of it. But the only way that could be is either it's McDonald or Chris Mara, and John Mara talks them out of it, or it's John Mara and one of the other Mara McDonald guys and Shane talk John Mara. You're not talking John Mara out of it, by the way. If he decides that's the way, these guys are they're lemmings. They're not going to go, oh, John, you're wrong. It's all going to be fine. It would have to be somebody else. And I don't believe it, period. The reason I don't believe it is it doesn't make any sense. Why would you supposedly feel that way after the Denver game, but then after the Philadelphia game, after you embarrass yourself by challenging a play that clearly the ref comes over, explains to you can't challenge it, tells the entire freaking crowd and everybody watching on TV, you can't challenge this play. And then you throw it down again and go, no, come here. I'm still going to challenge it like an idiot. And you've done this before. And you lose your timeout and look like a fool. You lose your second, what I would say, your second best emotional player. And certainly at this point, your second best offensive player in that game. Your defense gets run on. I mean, they could have brought Ricky Waters out of the stands, and Ricky Waters would have probably got 150 on the Giants in that game. You're so bad, and yet we don't hear anything about firing then. Then you get a home game against the 49ers, a team, by the way, who has every right to feel the way the Giants feel. They are beaten up on their offensive line. Their defense has lost its best players in multiple spots.
Matt Jones is starting at quarterback.
Jones is playing a guy who I said, hey, he's kind of immobile. This is going to be good for the Giants defense to get a chance to get after a guy who's not going to run away from him. And what do? He goes, what was it, 11 for 11, 12 for 12 to start the game?
The defense has quit. The defense has quit on Shane Bowen. I mean, that's obvious.
And that's true. Yep.
I mean, they've quit on him, and that's what we've said for months. Shane Bowen's going to get Dable fired, and that's exactly what's going to happen here. I mean, that's going to be. There's going to be other things involved, but I'm convinced that that's going to be more than anything that's going to get him fired, because if the defense was carrying its load the way, I mean, look on paper. Look, they took a couple of hits in the secondary, but on paper, this defense should be top 15 at least. And we were talking about top 10. There's no way this should be a bottom tier defense, and it is. And if they were keeping the Giants in games, look, the Giants are scoring points compared to previous years. We've been scoring over 20 points, which compared to the previous few years, that's an offensive explosion. So the defense is just not holding up its end of the bargain. So.
Well, and this is a team that scores on its first drive in 4 games this year since Dart's taken over.
Yeah.
I mean, he is just,
5, I think
he's just it. And yet your offensive weapons are depleting week by week. You lost Neighbors. We were going with basically a shell of wide receivers a couple of weeks ago. You get Slayton back, and I don't even know if that's addition anymore. You get Slayton back, but then Collins gets hurt in the game. You don't even bother to play Hyatt really as a wide receiver anymore. He's been active the entire season, minus I think 1 game. You don't really play him at wide receiver, and all of a sudden you decide to have him a kick returner. I'm like, why didn't you put him back there before?
Look, we're giving Hyatt too much grief now. He's a non-factor. The guy who's come up incredibly small, Slayton.
Absolutely.
He's just. I mean, look, Hyatt's on. They don't even play the effort. They won't even play him. Slayton is supposed to be a pro receiver, a starting wide receiver. He sucks. I mean, I'm sorry. He's gotten worse, and he doesn't like to hit the ground. And he can't catch. And
but Eric, hold on. I don't mean to step on you, but he's a pro's pro.
No.
He's a pro's pro, and he prepares.
No.
Did you not hear Kafka? He's a pro's pro, and he prepares. And I'm like, what the hell does that? Have we set the bar so low that if these guys just show up and they're like healthy for a game, we're like, dude, this guy's a gamer. He practiced all week. I mean, come on, you got to give it to him. He makes the play, 9 out of 10 times in practice.
I give you credit for listening to Kafka. He puts me to sleep. Bowen is shell shocked. If you listen to his interviews now, he's shell shocked. I mean, he knows he's toast. He'll probably never get another defensive coordinator job in the NFL again.
How is he not like 50 plus years old? Have you looked at that guy and go, that guy's got to be, he's got to be put, he makes me feel like, God, I must be way younger than I thought. That dude,
I'm almost 60. And
he looks, I mean, God, he looks like, literally like all we got was a skinnier Wink Martindale. I mean, he just kind of looks like you're in the same age range, but it's embarrassing to the point that, first off, it's really hard to separate. I know the argument on BBI, BigBlueInteractive.com. I know the argument is that Joe Schoen is just as bad. See that piece right there. Joe Schoen is just as bad as Brian Dable. And I'm not arguing the fact of whether he is or is not at his job.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't care what anybody says. I will argue with anybody here. This season in game, there are games the Giants should have won. Dallas, for sure. Denver, for sure. That is 100% coaching. It is 100% the decisions that you make in those games, the way that you did it. You blew those games in game. You do stupid shit. You're not consistent in. I've tried to explain this before. It's the mindset, the methodology to coming to a point of making a decision that I do not understand. He is erratic with how he applies logic for why he does or doesn't do things. When we had a chance to go for it late, I think it was it in the first half of the game? And deep in the 49er territory, we end up taking a field goal. Why? Why? First off, worst case scenario, you pin them deep into the end. Take your shot. You're not winning games by kicking field goals against this team. Your goddamn team can't stop the run, let alone the pass, let alone anything else. You got to take your shot. But at other times, he's not risk aversive. He takes risks where you're going, why would you do that? Right. Now he does the opposite. It's really weird of how he does things. It literally seems like by the seat of his pants. There's no rhyme or reason to why Brian Daboll does what he does. And that's why I cannot stand him as a coach. If you were consistent in the way you did things, I'd be okay. I'd be like, you know what? I don't like it, but at least he's constantly doing. But he does things. The only thing he does is do things opposite of what you think he was going to do. And that's the only thing you can hold on to. I think his piece about you brought it up in your preview. By the way, if you haven't seen it on bigblueinteractive.com,
short.
Giants Bears.
You don't have a long attention.
It's not a lot of preview of the game, but it is a preview about.
It's just basically we're fucked.
But you nailed one specific thing. Brian Daboll gets the credit for being this offensive genius, and he's really not. He's not overly. He might know offense. He's not creative. Look at what the 49ers do.
Oh, the 49ers, I would love, I said this last week. I'd love to have the 49ers coach. And the team that we're playing this weekend, that guy knows how, he's creative as hell. I saw him more in Detroit, but then I haven't watched a lot of the Bears this year, but he's creative as hell. Dable's living on a reputation of the quarterback in Buffalo.
Josh Allen. Yeah, Josh Allen.
He's living off the first half of his rookie season. Where and you've broken that down a million times. We don't need to get into that again. But that's what he's living off. Since that 6-2 start, it's been a disaster. And you are what you are. And the bigger question is this: is Joe Schoen doing enough to deserve to keep the job? I think they're going to keep him, but I think you can make a strong argument that he's a big part of the problem. Everything from the kicking situation to the lack of depth at a lot of positions on this team, even despite the fact that he's had 4 free agency periods, 4 drafts, and there's just still too many. And again, I give him credit for maneuvering, and you've brought this up a number of times, maneuvering and having a feel for where players should go in the draft. And so he did maneuver to get Dart, but I don't think Dart was his guy. Again, I don't know that for a fact. I just feel that. I think Dart was Daboll's guy. And I've said all along, the irony is Dable's going to get and he should get fired, but Dart's probably here because of Dable, and Schoen may stay here because Dable picked Dart.
Yeah, I don't know if I agree with that anymore, because the one part that we forgot about is the fact that the Giants tried to move up to 1. They tried to get Cam Ward. They wanted to get Cam Ward. So obviously Daboll had to be on board with Cam Ward as well.
No, I don't think that's necessarily true. It might Dable might have liked Dart better than Cam Ward. We don't know that.
But if that's the case, why would you then want to spend extra resources to move up to 1 to get the quarterback that your coach isn't really on board with?
I don't think everyone's on the same page. I don't. I think that when they didn't get Cam Ward, and thankfully, again, we'll have to see if this from 5 years from now we may be regretting. I may be regretting saying this, but thankfully the Giants didn't get Cam Ward and they got Dart. But it may have simply been that once the Cam Ward was out of the picture, there was a big disagreement between the other 2 quarterbacks. I don't know who was really high on Cam Ward. I again, you may be right, John. I just don't know.
I can't prove it. You're right. I can't prove it.
All I know is since the very beginning, the one thing I know is that Dable is infatuated with Dart, and he has been since when we saw the behind the scenes stuff from the draft. I got a warm, fuzzy feeling that Schoen wasn't all on board with that, and then we had that Shedeur Sanders stuff lingering in the background, which I think there was. Where there's smoke, there's fire. I think there probably were people in the Giants organization who like Shedeur. But again, I don't know this for a fact. I just feel strongly that Dart was Dable's guy. So I don't spend a lot of time on it.
I will say though, I still feel pretty good about Schoen really plays out the draft well. Now the guys that they got picked, but again, it's revisionist history for a lot of Giants fans, and I'm pointing at the chat part of it. And I'm not blaming anybody in chat. But what I mean is a lot of Giants fans, they love to shit on the Evan Neal pick. But quite frankly, when Evan Neal was picked, everybody was thrilled about the Giants getting Evan Neal, the offensive lineman. you might have been like, oh, maybe it was Cross, maybe it was the guy that Carolina got. But overall, Neal was right there. And everybody was thrilled about Kayvon Thibodeau.
Yeah.
Those 2 draft picks have turned out to be borderline milquetoast draft picks. I mean, Thibodeau's fine, but he's not what you thought you were getting.
Thibodeau would have been. We'd feel better about Thibodeau if he was a second-round draft pick.
Exactly. He's
right.
not what you thought you were getting in the top 5.
Yeah. Yeah.
And because then Neal's 7, and Neal is an absolute bust.
By the way, we may be in that situation this year too, because this draft at the top of this draft doesn't look like there's a lot of superstars at the top of this draft. So we may be in the same type of situation where we're picking top 5 and we're getting like a Thibodeau type level player. I hate to say that, but that this draft doesn't look top heavy to me right now.
And salary cap wise is, I think, the big part for me where I'm wondering, do we just not have the right people, or is it the way the Giants do certain things, meaning they don't want to give a lot of cash. They're okay with the contract being bigger over X amount of time versus like the Eagles give a shit ton of cash to a guy, but spread out the cost over a number of years and add voided years and stuff, but they pay them a lot up front. And are the Giants just too goddamn cheap, and they won't do that? Thus, the cap actually is a higher dollar amount because they space it out instead of front loading the cash, but spreading the cost out. What we need those old Anderson Consulting, the ones they call Accenture now, and we need some Enron guys to come in here and really mess with the numbers in a way that makes it work. But it's weird that we're constantly with a bad roster in a bad situation when it comes to the
whole
cap.
Organization is run like a shit show. So one of the things that my wife used to watch, and she got me to watching for a while, is, do you remember those shows? I don't know if it's still on, like those Restaurant Impossible or Hotel Impossible shows, where the business was going under because it was like a mom and pop operation. And it's always the people. They go in there and the food sucks, but it's always the way the business is run. And I watch, every time I watch it, I said, they fix it all up. Gordon Ramsay or whoever's doing it. There's a bunch of these shows. But I always say it's going to go right back the way it was because the ownership sucks. And that's how I kind of feel right now, is that just, if you look at an old media guide from like the 1980s and you opened up like the organizational chart and listing for the Giants, it's way shorter than it is now. It was a different time. I get it. And there's many different, and NFL is way bigger and there's many facets to the business. But if you look at the media guides today, it's page after page after page of all these, most of which have nothing to do with the football operations. It's this bloated swamp of people, this huge, and I just feel like the whole operation needs to be blown up. But I doubt it's going to happen because ownership is, they're not going to get rid of the training staff and the medical staff because that guy's been there since the 80s. I mean, we've seen
Ronnie Barnes. Ronnie Barnes was a kid
in the early 80s.
He was a kid back then.
So none of these people ever leave unless they leave on their own. So it's this big bloated family business that keeps bigger and bigger and bigger, and it's just not well run. I mean, I hate to say it because I wanted to do well, and people will say, well, John Mara was there when they won their last 2 Super Bowls. Yeah, but he kind of inherited that structure and that team that sort of carried into that. And as soon as those players sort of left and those people were out, we see what it is now. You know what I mean? So when what year did Wellington die? 2005?
6. I think it was 6.
So by 6 years later, those players were starting to, leave the stage. And so,
well, you could literally say, here's the problem that I have with 100% being on board with that thought. Because I do agree with it. I agree with it pretty much all the way through.
You want that from the Giants, and we're not going to get them anymore.
No. One of my problems is no. One of my problems is that I think John Mara's biggest flaw besides maybe being too many people within the family, and I'll get to that part of it in a second.
Why is there any family business? Why is there any family member involved in the football operation?
Yeah, but you could say that about the Cowboys too. I mean, the Cowboys are related with people, but they own the goddamn thing. They can choose to do what they want with it. My problem is this: he listens to the fans at the wrong goddamn time. And the case in point, where I think the franchise took a veer to the left, is in 2017. They go. You've got Ben McAdoo. He made it to the playoffs at 11-5 team the year before. The Giants had really spent a shit ton of money on their defense. If you remember, they spent a lot of money on defensive free agents. Brought that team in. It goes 11-5, but they lose in a playoff game. They go the next year. Now injuries start to come up in 2017. There's a lot of injuries. I think Odell breaks his ankle against the Chargers. Later in the season, what happens? The Giants decide to move off from Eli. Remember, in the draft prior to this, Ben McAdoo wanted Patrick Mahomes. That is a known fact.
Yeah.
He wanted Mahomes. They went, no, we're going to get you Evan Ingram. So halfway to 2/3 of the way through the season is shit. McAdoo benches Eli. Management was on board with this. Eli was not on board. The idea was Eli would play and then sit down, and Geno Smith would take over probably at halftime or something like that. That was the rumor. Eli was like, "Nah, I'm not doing that. I'll just step aside and Geno will start." That flies around. Rumors are going. Fans are in an uproar. Even though Eli is on a downward trajectory career-wise, fans are in an uproar. John Mara hears this. What does he do? He fires Ben McAdoo. He fires Jerry Reese, and he installs Eli as the starting quarterback.
That week? What didn't John hide that week a little bit too?
I can't remember the time frame of there was a couple of days, and he heard the uproar. He fires McAdoo. He fires Reese, and he puts.
But not right then and there. It was later.
It was right after the Raider game that Geno started.
Right, but no, he didn't fire McAdoo right then and there.
It was right after the game. It was the uproar started because remember the word came out like 2 days before. Yeah. So it comes out and Eli's like, "No, I'm not doing that." Geno starts. Boom, they lose that game. Bam, Mara fires everybody.
I don't want to get all into the weeds. You're 100% correct. It's the Costanza thing. Whatever he does, it backfires.
But that's my point, though, right?
Thing. He just does the wrong thing.
This is my point, though. This is where fans need to be careful with their bullshit that they love to say. What's your answer to other things? Do you fire both Daboll and Schoen? Fine. But remember, there's still an ownership group, and unless you convince ownership to not be involved, and they're going to be, then you're still relying on them hiring other people. So do you feel comfortable bringing in a brand new GM and a brand new coach together? I'm not saying I'm not. I'm just asking. Because along the way, the Giants have done both things. They have fired coaches and kept the GM. They fired the GM and the coach and brought in 2 new people. It doesn't seem to matter right at the moment. So what is the answer this time around?
Most of the time, if not all of the time, they have never been in sync with coach, GM, quarterback. So even when they brought in Schoen and Dable, they stuck them with Daniel Jones.
Yeah.
Now,
they kept them, and that's their problem.
I think new people will be okay with Jaxson Dart. There'll be some that might not, but I don't know who they would be. My bigger concern is this: has it gotten around the league that Tim McDonald and Chris Mara have way more influence than some people want to think, and they say, I don't want to have anything to do with that? Look, if I was running the team, if I was John Mara and this has happened, I would say, I'm over my head. I don't know. I don't know. And I'm not going to go back and hire Ernie Accorsi, by the way, to be my.
That's my fear, is that they'll reach out to old school Giants for like.
Right. I'm not going to do something like that. And again, and a lot of Giants fans out there, bless your heart, but you guys keep coming back and saying we need to reach into the past and bring in Bill
Belichick, for the love of everything,
Martindale or whatever, some whatever. No, stop. No, Bill Belichick.
But did you notice? Do you notice though? There's a couple.
Bill Belichick crap.
There's a couple of media guys. I think Gary Myers put it out there about the fact that Belichick would jump at this, that he really wants to. He loves the Giants.
He's lost his mind.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying is please don't do that shit.
Bill Belichick when he was in his prime, but the man has lost his mind. And he's a pervert, and he's being manipulated. And stop going for John Gruden.
He's a pervert.
He is.
No, I'm with. Hey, listen, it's, you know what though? I'm not going to call him names. I'm going to say this. He comes off as a guy who's suffering from cognitive decline.
Yes.
And it's embarrassing that this chick, and
he's using him.
You're a gold digger, whatever, and that's whatever. He allowed it. That's his effing problem. Yep. But it is so embarrassing that you're even you look like a hooker on most of the fields. I don't care. I'll put it out there. I don't care. You look like a hooker. It doesn't matter that she's, you're like, oh, she's attractive. I don't give a shit. You don't belong on the football field. Who the hell are you when it comes to the NFL? For God's sakes, we should get jobs in the NFL then. If that chick can walk around on the field and give like advice and talk to recruits in college, hey, University of North Carolina, I'll be happy to
how did that work out for North Carolina, by the way?
Yeah, it's like, give me a break. So stop.
There's been multiple threads this week about let's get Bill Belichick. No,
stop going to Belichick. First off, he's been bad even with the Patriots. If you think Joe Shane drafts bad, if you don't like what Joe Shane does, you are going to fucking hate what Bill Belichick does. Because go back and look at his draft. He drafted 2 tight ends in the 3rd round, of which neither of a team where they spent a ton of franchise or free agent money on 2 free agent tight ends. Jonnu Smith was brought in. I think Hunter Henry was brought in. They drafted Dalton. I think it was Dalton. It's not Dalton Kincaid. It was Dalton Keene. And then there was another tight end. They had 4 fucking tight ends, 2 free agents, and 2 drafted guys in the same year. It was crazy. This guy knows nothing of what he's doing anymore. He is crazy.
Listen to what we're saying. Bill Belichick is cognitively impaired.
You can't have him coach anything.
He's over the hill. Okay. Stop. Everyone needs to stop. He's lost his mind. Okay. Stop. Yeah, I know we're all like looking for the next person. The only one out there, and I know I'm in the minority on this, that I still feel is in the picture is this guy. And the only reason I say that, and I've said this repeatedly, is if John goes back to his MO and he wants somebody with a Giants connection, I think Spags would be on his list. And I'm one of those guys that I think, I know John disagrees with me. I would look into Spags. He would be one of the guys I would interview. But besides that, stop looking for these I mean, and you kind of feel like Spags, like I feel like when you bring up the Green Bay coach in the what's his name?
Well, no, Mike McCarthy. So you're talking about sure? No, I get it. I get it. But the difference is though, Mike McCarthy has a proven track record as an NFL head coach, and Spags' record as a head coach was not good. But I'll say this because we want to get to other stuff. But I've kind of really honed in on a group, and I don't know that it could happen. But I think I want this. I would love for the Giants to reach out to the Rams. And I've looked him up, and I just want to make sure I had his name right. I want their COO, Tony Pastores, right now. He works basically with Snead, the general manager, but he does a lot of the contract stuff. He also does a lot of the negotiating. He's a very big part of that. I want Tony Pastores to come in as the president and GM of this team. I want you to bring their defensive coordinator, Chris Shula, bring him over here. Bring over a couple of the assistants if you can. Aubrey Pleasance would be good. Make him the defensive coordinator. You can bring Dave Ragone if you want to and make him the offensive coordinator. I don't care. Bring him as assistant head coach. Get Chase Blackburn in here if you want as special teams or assistant coach, head coach, and special teams coach. I want the guys from that group. That team under McVay is unbelievably prepared. The Rams last year were a team that was almost ready to start selling stuff off. You and I know this. You knew it. You knew it of the fact that the Giants were talking to them about possibly getting Matthew Stafford. Then they started winning. But keep in mind, the Rams had more injuries and they had more combinations of offensive line than even the Giants, who had a ton of injuries, had. They were constantly shuffling guys all around, and that team still made the playoffs. That team almost beat the Eagles in Philadelphia in the snow, even though they were a West Coast, basically dome team. They almost beat the Eagles. They are an unbelievably well-coached team. I want guys from that tree. I want that younger group, and I want Tony Pastores to come in and run the organization.
The bigger problem is they're 0 for 4 in picking coaches. So they're going to hire a new coach in January, and I'm going to hold my breath. So, I mean, the track record, the history tells us they're going to pick a wrong guy again. But the only chance, like I said in the preview, the only chance we have is that if they make an accident, they pull a reverse Costanza and they pick the right person, and the guy's got a big personality, and he like a Bill Parcells or a Tom Coughlin personality, and he's the next big stud. Like Dart, we got our Dart. You know, he's, like I said, he came in and he's the big personality on the team on offense. We need a big personality in the coaching ranks to do this, and whether that guy will come here to work with Shane, I don't know. I don't think they're getting rid of Shane. I think they should think about it, but I don't think they're getting rid of Shane. So the new coach is going to have to say, I'm willing to work with the Giants' current structure, and that's going to take some people probably out of the running. I hate to say that, but some people are going to probably say, you know what, I don't want to go to that situation.
I think, would you agree that, I mean, really, Jaxson Dart is the attractor to bring anybody here?
And the pass rush and the left
well,
tackle.
but I mean, there's
a lot here.
But I mean, if you're coming in at a situation where some things might be a little sketchy to you, you know what I mean? Like the management side of it, if you're not sure how that's going to play out, a pass rush isn't going to bring you here. But having a franchise
help, help. It will help.
I understand what you're saying, but understand what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You don't win if you only have a pass rush. You win if you have a franchise quarterback. So if you took Jaxson Dart out of this equation and Russell Wilson was your quarterback signed next year, or Jameis Winston, who had the 2-year deal, he's your quarterback next year. Some coaches aren't coming here just because you have a pass rush and Jameis Winston. They're going to look at it and go, you got a young quarterback who, with a shitty situation, rose up and is continuing to rise up. He makes things happen when there's nothing happening. Right. For all the things he supposedly doesn't see on the field, I don't give a shit. Because what I see is too much credit is given to Daboll when Dart is making things happen on his own. When you're running around and escaping guys, but you're still looking down the field, guys who panic, who have athletic ability, they run around and take off. Dart doesn't run around and take off. He's still trying to throw the ball. Now, it's not his fault that Theo Johnson apparently forgets that his hands are actually part of his body, that Darius Slayton thinks catching the ball means it needs to hit you in the chest, that as long as you hold it for about a half a second, they should count it as a touchdown. If he had guys who would actually give a little bit of effort, I mean, his touchdowns are probably 14, 15 touchdowns in the 6 games that he's played. This guy is going to be an attractor. I think he's going to be the reason somebody overlooks some of the other stuff, because we all talked about it before. The hardest thing to find in the NFL is that quarterback.
Right. But a lot of people won't go into a situation where they can't control the groceries. But I don't underestimate the other stuff. So the quarterback's obviously number one, but the 3 things that people look to build a team with are quarterback, rush the passer, left tackle. And the Giants have those 3 things. So there's a lot to attract somebody.
I agree with you.
And by the way, real quick, Paul, stop. Wink Martindale was a bottom-ranked defensive coordinator in the NFL. The Giants could not stop the run. They were the 30th or 32nd against the run. They couldn't stop the pass. He was horrible. Again, that's why he's in college football right now. And plus, he couldn't play nice both with his coach in Baltimore and the coach here. Yeah, you guys got to stop with the shit about pining for sucky past. That's like, let's bring back Odell Beckham again. Stop. You guys, stop living in the past. Fuck it. Jesus Christ. The Giant, the way we're going to get better is not to accept fucking mediocrity from the last 15 years. We got to get back to getting good play. You want to get successful, follow the model of the 1980s or 2007, 2011. But don't follow the model of like when Wink Martindale was here or Odell Beckham was here. They're fucking losers. Stop.
You know what's
it's just unbelievable that some of you guys are like. Anyways, I'm
so
sorry.
I'm gonna step in for a minute. Take a drink of your beer.
Yes.
The thing that I think people need to realize with the Wink Martindale part, and it's where we started in the beginning of this this episode, talking about Shane Bowen and how bad the defense is, right? Is that, and I know it wasn't a ton over time, but at specific moments it was. The Giants lived off the turnover early on with Wink. If you don't believe me or you don't remember, go back and look at it. Carolina, 2 turnovers right in the beginning of the game. The Giants pounced all over that ball. They ended up winning the game. What was it? 19-16. Baltimore turns the ball over multiple times in the second half, late in the second half, allowing the Giants to come back and win that game. Green Bay, Aaron Rodgers, they turned the ball over. The Giants played a game that they were really outmatched. They were beat up. Jones was on a half an ankle. I mean, the fact that we won that game was because the defense was able to get turnovers, but they were not good statistically over time. They were run on like crazy. The thing that people forget, we made the playoffs in 22, and as somebody said earlier, stop living in 22. You're absolutely right. We made the playoffs in 22. We started the season 7-2, the reverse of the next 3 seasons. 2-7. We started 7-2. Finished 2-5-1. 2-5-1. We were horrible on defense. We could not stop anybody. I mean, the Lions went up and down the field on us. The Giants just could not get turnovers in that game. We ended up tying with Washington in a game that we absolutely should not have tied that game. This team could not sustain their defense, but they lived off turnovers. The second Washington game in Washington, Kayvon Thibodeau creates the turnover for a touchdown. That was a huge factor ultimately in that win. Since that time, though, even this team, with its pass rush, with its supposed improved secondary, which is now decimated by injuries, we are not getting turnovers. The Giants just do not create turnovers.
And the only time, again, I want to address this, Paul, my tirade wasn't just directed at you. So I apologize if it seemed like it was directed at you. But there has been nonstop posts in the last few years from Giants fans saying, we need to bring back somebody from the time period of the last 14 years. No, the people associated with this team in the last 14 years are losers. They're awful at their job. And I'm not directing this just at you. So it pisses me off to no end when people are saying, well, things really suck right now, but let's go back and get the guy that didn't suck quite as bad, but he still sucked. And that's basically where Wink is. And that's what Wink is out of the league for a reason. Now, he'll probably get some point get back and get into the league, but no. And it's the same thing with players when people are like, let's bring back Odell Beckham. Let's bring back Landon Collins. Stop. I mean, you're not, the Giants are, plus these players then, I don't know if it's a youth thing or not, or people are, again, short-term memory or whatever, but the players that made the playoffs, and we had 2 playoff appearances in the last 14 years?
2016 and 2022.
Those weren't good teams. Those weren't, that's not glory days. That's not something to look back on and go, wow.
The 2016, and here's the thing. I wanted to go back. I remember you and I talking about this a number of years ago, whether it was in the forum in BBI or whether we were verbally talking about it. I can't remember. People tend to forget, and I do it too, right? It's nostalgia. The Giants barely made the playoffs in 2011, which ultimately led to the Super Bowl. And you ultimately say, who gives a shit? We won the Super Bowl. I get that. But it was a 9-7 team. And it was 9-7 because we won a bunch of games at the end.
Right.
They were, what were they, 6-6, 7-7 early at one point. We had a bunch of bad games. They were not good at different points. We couldn't run the ball for shit. Our defense couldn't stop anybody for a while. We really couldn't rush the passer. That all kind of turned around once the playoffs hit. Everything lined up for the Giants playoff wise that year. We go 9-7 the next year. Did you want to do?
I just want to say, sorry, Paul. No, 2022 was a disaster for the Giants, but we'll get to that in a second.
Well, I think I understand what he means by that, but we'll get to that. So the Giants go 9-7 in 2012, but it was going downhill further. Their offensive line continued to deteriorate. But then you look at it, 2013, 7-9, 6-10, 6-10. Then there's the 11-5. And like I said, in 2016, the Giants spent, I believe it was over $100 million on defense. We picked up Landon Collins. There was Damon Harrison, the nose tackle.
Yeah.
Who did we pick up? The cornerback from New Orleans.
We did spend a lot of money on.
I can't remember. Anyway, so anyway, you spent all this.
But you're proving my point in a way.
No, I am. This is what I'm telling you.
You and I can list names from the 80s and 90s and 2000s of players, but these guys aren't guys that we want to remember because they didn't do anything. You know what I mean?
And this is what I'm talking about. This team has not been good for a long time. Even in the Super Bowl year, it was barely into the playoffs. I would give everything to be barely into the playoffs, to be regularly barely into the playoffs. The problem is, though, when you look at it, you're talking, we went 11-5, 3-13, 5-11, 4-12, 6-10, 4-13. Then there's the miraculous 9-7-1. Once again, it was the delusional factor of that season. Yes, I would sign up. Janor Jenkins, thank you, AF. I would sign up for. I don't know who that is.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know. Anyways.
I would sign up for the Giants making the playoffs, but you could point to that 9-7-1 as where both, I think Daboll and Schoen, quite frankly, I think the Giants made the right choice bringing in Daboll and Schoen at that moment. Where it went wrong, though, is within the people themselves. I think Brian Daboll became unbelievably arrogant after that bit. He didn't look at it as an overall season. They were too busy going to Madison Square Garden or whatever. I don't even know the venues for the different New York teams anymore. They're going to hockey games, basketball games, and they're up on the big board. And right, you saw it. They're all like, oh, yeah. He had what would be considered a very soft training camp. They barely put in Daniel Jones. Remember, they had the one drive against Carolina. They're like, this is great. Here, Darren Waller. Darren Waller's looking amazing. Go sit down. He pulls his fucking hamstring in the week leading up to the Cowboy game, and you get blown out 40-0.
That's another guy. People pining for Darren Waller. Stop. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah. So the point is, you could look at that piece of it, and the Giants may have made the right choice with the Schoen Daboll combination. What happened, though, is they had success, and they talked about it, right? Remember what they said? Listen, we know, but this is a longer process. We don't want to put too much. That's why they were like, we're not trading. We're not doing this. But then you went and effed it up. You franchised Barkley. You paid Jones. You literally locked the franchise into, we're good. Look at it. We got to get some weapons. We're good. We go get Darren Waller. He gets hurt. Everything from there was arrogance. They come back around, right? He gets hurt. Not revision of the whole thing. Right. Come back around. But since that time, if you stop at 7-2, everything that they've done since 2-5-1,
right.
Starts the season 2-7, finishes with 6 wins, but we know a couple of those wins were bullshit. Next year, 3 wins. This year, 2 wins. And at this point, it may end with 2 wins. Everything that happened once they had a little bit of success, what they say a lot of times is you don't know somebody's character until you give them money, and then their true character will show through. I think they got a little bit of success, and their fucking arrogance just came flying out. We are here. Look at me. I'm coach of the year. Everything since then has been almost doubling and tripling down on that thought process. You're living off of a 9-game stretch from over 3 years ago, and It's done. It's done.
Well, big picture is this, John. They misjudged the Eli Manning situation. They thought Eli Manning still had it in him, and if they just got him players like Barkley, and
correct,
they could make another run. They were flat out wrong as you could possibly be. They felt the same thing about Daniel Jones, by the way. We got our quarterback. Yep. We just got to surround him with the talent, and he'll be fine. Their MO until Schoen and Dable was to always go with people with connections to the Giants, or with recommendations from Ernie Accorsi and bringing that pipeline. And they finally got away from that when they brought in Schoen and Dable. Look, it was a good gamble to bring in Schoen and Dable because they were both respected. These weren't like Joe Judge out of the nowhere where we're like, Joe Judge. Dable and Schoen were high on people's you must interview list. They were good gamblers. They didn't work out. So I at least give them a little bit of credit for like taking a swing and missing in that situation, but it hasn't worked out. They probably should have been fired last year, and they didn't when they weren't. And here we are right now. So the question moving forward is does Mara, who has cancer, revert to his old form and go stay inside his circle?
Giants history.
Or does he take another swing outside the Giants fiefdom? And now the thing is, his Belichick isn't out there anymore. Remember, they used to like, I don't know, maybe they're still texting, which scares me, given the fact that we talked about a cognitive decline. But remember, they've always kind of listened to Belichick with a lot of this stuff, and that's why we've gone with a lot of expatriates people.
But here's the thing with that, right? Bill Belichick, and I know I should have said this before I said a bunch of the other bad words that I already said, but I prefaced this ahead of time. I'm about to swear. But Bill Belichick fucked them. Bill Belichick is the one who told Flores, oh, sorry, whoops, I said it to the wrong person when he was supposedly sending it to Daboll, but he sent it to Flores. And that's what set Flores off going, I'm just a token interview here because you're already saying that Daboll's already got the job. That was Bill, and to this day, I believe Belichick did it on purpose. I think
he probably recommended Joe Judge to Mara.
Of course he did. I think he did it on purpose.
And remember, Dable was in New England for a long time, so he probably recommended Dable to him.
Oh, I think he did, but here's the thing: I think he purposely did that. I think he did it. I think he wanted to cause shit with Flores. I don't think he had the same connection with Flores that he did with Daboll. I think he did it on purpose. That was I mean, first off, if you think you're going to hire this guy to be a head coach and he makes that kind of stupid ass mistake, if he's too fucking old and dumb that he can't text the right Brian in his phone, then I'm sorry. I don't want him coaching my goddamn team.
Yeah.
I'm like, what the hell?
Well, the problem is, and I didn't think of this, what if he's still listening to Bill Belichick? What if he's still texting him and going, who do you think? I think you should hire my girlfriend. If you're going to start looking at trees, look at trees like the 49er tree.
Yeah, I want the Ram one. I want McVay.
A lot of the Patriots tree has failed miserably in the NFL, not just with the Giants. So if you look, if you look at a lot of the people, the people that have been hired from offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator from the Patriots year after year after year, as
they failed horribly. They failed
horribly. So I would stay away from that.
Now, the one thing I will say though, and I think the Giants might be thinking the same thing right now, is
I hope this is trolling at this point, Paul.
Look. There is a natural case study right at the moment to say how this could play out. The Patriots last year go and get their quarterback, but they have a different coach. They fire that coach at the end of the year and they bring in a new coach. A coach that comes there, they've already got their quarterback. He's a young guy. My biggest fear with the Dart part of this, and I've talked about this numerous times, and I know you and I are slightly different, but not completely different in opinion on this. I don't want Daboll Dart to stay connected too long. If I'm management and I know I'm going to fire him, at some point I need to sever that connection. You don't want to take it 17 games because oh, I love you. And let's be honest, Brian Daboll talks about Dart too much. He's literally like Daboll's messiah here at this point. He knows, as you said, he's his Superman. He is his one and only chance of trying to come back. And I think that dude will risk this guy's health and everything else.
Oh, yeah.
Just to make sure he'll come back.
I think everyone's dawning on. I saw a tweet today from one of the draft guys. Is it Mike Tyson? Oh, no, that's Mike Tyson's a coach.
Mike Tyson. Oh, Mike
Not
Tyson.
Mike Tyson. I can't think of the guy's name. There's a draft guy, but he was talking today about Daboll's going to get Dart killed. And so he's like, why was he in the game as late as he was taking those shots? And so I agree with you. I think there's a real risk in the last 8 games. I mean, I think it's 50-50 whether Dart finishes the season. So, and some of that's on Dable not pulling the plug on him when the game's out of hand.
Well,
again,
certainly
you want him to get experience. I understand that.
Yeah.
But when you're down 3 scores,
don't call
up 5 minutes left. They're not going to pull a Denver here. and he's taking shots. Get him out of the game.
Well,
I mean,
or at least don't call a power sweep or
yes,
an
yes.
inside run. You know what I mean? Now Dart took
John means power sweep to the quarterback.
Yes, yeah. You call a power sweep with Singletary. Who cares? That hits his job. But you don't want. And Dart took a wicked shot running down the field. Now he was trying to get a first down, and I give him credit. He, as you said, you're not going to coach that out of him, unfortunately. But when you saw him on the sidelines afterwards, he was clearly hurting. That shot drilled him in the shoulder. He was squatting down. He was in a lot of pain. Yet he still stayed in and threw a touchdown pass. I mean, that's your quarterback, man. That is your quarterback. But the part I have a problem with is, right, if I am going to sever this, and we don't know that this isn't already true, by the way. The Giants may have already decided this. If they continue to lose, and at the moment, you got the Bears, Lions, or the Bears, Packers, Lions. The chances are you probably are. Yes, I did the oh my. And then you've got the Patriots on a Monday night, and then there's the bye. I don't think if they lose the next 4 games, I think Daboll gets fired during the bye. I think they need to separate that piece of it, and I would do it. I would do it now, to be quite frank.
I know. Well, you have been predicting it week after week for the last few weeks. You've been saying if they lose this game, he's going to get fired.
Well, yeah,
I don't know if he's going to get fired or not. I just worry about Dart at this point. Look, Dable's going to get fired unless something weird happens in the last 8 games and he saves himself. Again, we've always have to put this caveat out there that if something weird happens and we're going on a weird winning streak and Shane Bowen all of a sudden can coach defense and Dable gets creative and Slayton holds on to passes and the Giants can stop the run, sure, they can come back. But I don't think any of that's going to happen. So he's gone. Look, the thing that sucks about this is we all know how this is going to end. We just don't know when it's going to end.
You say that, and here's where I have a little worry. Washington is potentially going to be missing Jaden Daniels for a while. They could continue to lose, and at some point they go, even if he's healthy again, we're not going to risk putting Jaden Daniels on for the last few games. Who do the Giants play later this season? Washington.
Right.
Dallas.
We lost to Mac Jones. We lost
Dallas. I understand that, but how this goes in the second half of seasons, and the Giants potentially would get
I know where you're going with it, but I think we're beyond that.
But
now.
Then you've got Dallas.
We're 4 years into this shit show.
That's not the point I'm trying to make.
No.
Then you got Dallas, who goes and trades for a couple of guys, but they just had a guy commit suicide. They're a bad defense, even with Quinnen Williams coming in, even with, bringing in Logan Wilson, who I thought the Giants should have gotten. Even bringing those guys in, you're still a really bad defense. And mentally, how in it are you? Just had one of your players kill himself. Who do we play at the last game of the season? Outdoors, late in the season.
There's a danger there.
I'm not saying they're going to the playoffs. Here's my thing, though. The Giants could string together 2 or 3 wins, because who else do they play? They play the Raiders, who have pretty much thrown the towel in. You saw that. Even playing the tough. They played the Broncos tough. They had absolutely nothing, and they still lost that freaking game. This is a team. So the Giants have games that they could win, and that might, unfortunately, as you've always said,
right,
that could change somebody else's opinion.
I think he had his get out of jail card. It was the Colts game last year, and I think he's out of get out of jail.
They won't do it again. Okay.
If they do it again, God damn God. If they do it again, you're a clusterfuck organization beyond what I've already described. If like John has just laid it out, if you beat teams that are just beatable,
done.
Yeah. So
I mean, because right now,
if that's stupid, then you deserve what you get.
When you're in a season, I'm sorry, I stepped on you.
I've been interrupting you constantly.
No. You've been great. You've been great. But when you're in a season, past years, we used to play the woulda, coulda, shoulda game a lot, right? Because the other teams would be through 9 games. Let's say some would be 5-4 and a 6-3, and we'd be like, if the Giants just played better against, let's say a couple of years ago was Atlanta and Denver, I believe we started the season off. They just played a little bit better there. Oh man, if Dexter wasn't, called offsides on that field goal attempt, we beat Washington. Right. Oh, we could have. The woulda, coulda, shoulda game doesn't play out though when you are winning the game and you fucking blow it, which you did with Dallas, which you did with Denver. When the other teams in your division after 9 games have 3 wins, woulda, coulda, shoulda says Your coaching is so bad, you can't even exceed other teams that are falling apart. And that's where we're at. It is no longer the woulda, coulda does not play in your favor. It actually works against you at this point. It is the point that says the difference that separates us from middling teams, we're not talking echelon, middling teams, is the fact that our coaching sucks. And that's just a fact. It's not even arguable.
The other problem Dable has is he's got the most exciting rookie quarterback in the NFL, and the stadium was filled with 49er fans. So the Giants fans have checked out, even though Jaxson Dart should be a draw to bring anybody in to watch them, even with a losing record. And it's not because Giant fans are not showing up because the Giants are losing. Giants fans are not showing up because they know the regime doesn't know what it's doing, because they've gone through 3 years of this, and they know that Brian Dable and Shane and Kafka and these guys don't know what they're doing. And we've seen this movie before. It's the same movie. So if we were losing, but we been losing the last 14 years, Giants fans would still be showing up to the game because we'd be excited about they'd understand this is a growth process. What we've seen this before. We can't stop the run. We can't stop the other teams. We've given up 105 points in the last 3 games. That defense is a joke. We've got receivers who can't catch the ball, and so the problem that Dable's got is he's lost the fan base, and he can't get them back. I don't think there's anything Dable can do at this point to get them back, and I think that's why he's dead man walking. So now, could Mara bring him back? I suppose, but man, you'd have to be dumb as a bunch of rocks.
Well, dude, you've accused him of that in the past. I don't know you're putting a whole lot past him in this case. No, I'm with you. I agree, but I do fear a string. It's one thing to win one game. The Colts game, and I know you and I looked at it differently. I didn't, hey, Optimus, I didn't care so much about the draft position per se as much as I cared about the fact that Daboll came back. That was the one thing that should not have played a role in whether he came back or didn't come back. But I do fear
reporters have said that, by the way.
And by the way, before people start throwing a fit about the separation of Shane and Daboll, that already happened last year. The fact that Shane already knew he was coming back before Daboll knew he was coming back says that they feel comfortable with Shane. They're not so good about Daboll. Now, a couple of things the Giants don't like. They don't like, I believe, the Mara family's not a big fan of his histrionics on the sidelines. He does come off as a guy out of control. I don't care if you're mad. Mad is one thing. Out of control is a whole nother thing. When he threw the tablet at Jones, basically, and he could say he didn't, but Jesus, I mean, if I threw that next to my wife, I couldn't go, I didn't throw it at you, honey. I was just trying to put bullshit. You're mad. You threw it at him. You were mad. Yeah. The fact that you do stupid shit where you yell and scream and you call timeouts and you call challenges just because you're mad and you want to get your point across, but you lose a timeout. You look like an idiot when you do it. And the fact that your team plays so undisciplined says that stems from you. If you can't maintain your demeanor at moments when you need to be the leader, then your team's not going to either. And it shows up too much constantly with him. Yeah. So I think that separation already happened. This year, I think for one, I kind of have a feeling the whole part about Daboll coming out saying, Dart is my guy. We covered this before. Dart's my guy. He's going to start. It's my decision. He must have known already where things were at. Like, you're not winning. And I still 100% feel I'm right. They just didn't start him because Andrew Thomas wasn't ready to go. Look at how it went. Thomas played on a pitch count against the Chiefs. The Giants lose. As soon as they knew he was going to play the full game the next week, and the Chargers, by the way, were playing better than the Chiefs were coming into that at that point, and they had a better defense. They were a tough team, and you're going to throw your rookie to the wolves with that? You did it because you knew your left tackle.
But the counter argument to that, John, is they have Dart in the game against the Eagles when the game's out of hand running power sweeps.
No, I get no. My point was though, you can say it was your decision, but that decision became possible because Andrew Thomas was back. I think probably the entire organization was thrilled with Dart and didn't want to risk him early. Daboll probably would have, but I don't know that I want him getting the shit beat out of him with Hudson being at left tackle. You don't know how things are going to go with that offensive line. You kind of want to settle shit down.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I'm not sure I agree. I'm not saying you're wrong, but I think Dart. The impression I get with Dable's comments where he said it's my decision. I want him to start. Is that he was chomping at the bit to get him to play earlier than he was, and somebody was holding him back. But I don't know if that's right either. That's just my impression. So I don't.
But that also could be. I mean, but that could also be that everybody else also knows the same as we know. It's pretty fucking obvious that if you're going to come back, your guy has got to be the guy to get you there. Russ was not the guy. Russ was not getting. I will say.
Let's be honest, John. We were all feeling pretty good about Russ coming out of training camp.
But we were feeling pretty damn good about Jaxson Dart too. We talked about it. I know we were,
but I think Wilson played way worse than. Look, I'm again full disclosure. John and I were not big Russell Wilson fans.
No.
But Russell Wilson carried himself very, very well in camp and in the preseason, and he looked better. And I don't think any of us expected them to be struggling to score 10 points a game with him when he came in. So that made the decision easy, and they didn't win. So, and the thing with Dart, I mean, the thing with Dable that you keep saying, and you're right about this, about the lack of control, that wouldn't matter as much if he was winning games, but he's not winning games.
Right. Absolutely.
If you don't win, it doesn't, I mean, that just accentuates it. So
and it's one thing when you lose. Like when you were coming into the season, you and I had a different opinion about the schedule.
Yeah.
It's one thing if you lose coming in and these other teams are just blatantly better than you, right? But they weren't.
They're not.
On paper, coming into the season, they were. But when we started playing them, they were not. Dallas is not where it should be. Even Washington has really struggled with a lot of other teams. Again, they put up 21 on the Giants, but for most of the game, they had 14. If the Giants offense could have done anything, they would have put pressure on Washington to have to try more. They didn't have to do anything. They played their run game. They ran Daniels. They just wore the Giants out because the Giants offense did nothing the entire game. But when you lose games that you are winning, when you have double-digit leads in multiple games that you lost, you can't really argue that anymore. It's not that the other teams are better. It's that you're bad. You're just bad at your job, and you now have 4 full years that says 9 games says you were really good, and 1 stupidly overreactive playoff game against a defense that was really, really, really bad gave you a pass for too long.
Right. Well, the thing is, John, we know from the first half of the season that the Giants were competitive against the league's best teams.
Yes.
And in the last couple of games, the bottom has dropped out, which part of that's injuries, and the Giants are getting a lot of injuries now. There's like a third to almost half the roster now is on the injury list. And part of that is I think guys are starting to check out that they've lost. You know, the coach they've lost.
Agreed. I'm going to share
not listening to the coaching staff anymore, and especially on defense. But I think it's starting to go on offense, and I think that's going to be sad if the last 8 games are like the last game. That's not a talent issue, and people are going to say bullshit. No, you look at the first half of the schedule. And the Giants were in these games with the Philadelphias, the San Diegos, even Kansas City. I mean,
yes,
they were in. They can compete with these guys, but now last week they didn't compete, and it looked like an effort thing. So we've seen that before. So now it's telling me that the players have checked out on the coaching staff. So that's where we're at, and that's why I'm really negative. And people are going to say, "Why are you so negative, Eric?" My gut is telling me that they've checked out. So
negative would be if you were saying this in week 3. This is more at this point. Unfortunately, the proof's in the pudding, right? It's wash, rinse, repeat. It's the same thing. We're trying to come up with different answers for why the result is the same. But what's the consistency? The consistency is your head coach and your GM to have been there. Now,
Optimus trying to piss me off again.
No. He He came late.
All
Other
right,
people.
Optimus, you're going to have to go back and rewatch this, and don't get me started again.
But the reason I put it up there is this, because I left
Are you
out a
trying
piece.
to get me? Are you
I
trying to
did
get
it
me
on
riled
purpose.
up again?
No, there was a piece I left out earlier that I really wanted to share.
All right.
So at this point, Bill Belichick and Jordan Hudson are essentially the 90s version of Mike Tyson and Robin Givens. Okay. It is Robin Givens was the downfall of Mike Tyson. Go back and look at all that shit. There was points where they do interviews that looked like Mike Tyson was drugged during the interview as Robin Givens is talking about what a horrible guy he is. And he's just sitting there like, yep, everything's fine. That's Jordan Hudson and Bill Belichick. No, Bill Belichick is not coming here for the love of, but I say that, but we don't know John Mara's piece of this, but for the love of God, please, I would rather you go get Bill Parcells. Go get Parcells. Get Ray Handley to come in and be the offensive coordinator. I don't give a shit.
Pick up Jim Fossil. I mean, at this point, Jesus Christ.
Fossil or sorry, I got to play on name there, but that's okay.
Stop.
Oh, that went dark. That went dark fast.
Yeah. Stop, guys. Stop. The next head coach of the Giants is not going to be, with the possible exception, as I've mentioned, and John's not on board with this, of Spags. That's the
I don't want Spags.
It's not. So that's the only, blast from the, like, if you got. I'm sorry, somebody hasn't brought up Tom Coughlin. Why not Tom Coughlin?
Well, I mean, I started to think, right?
I'm not advocating for it. I'm just saying why somebody hasn't said it.
So let's say if in reality a number of these coaches actually were not that bad, but that there was just this bad juju with management, whatever. The only way to correct that, right, is you got to we got to have a healing moment. So what I'm thinking is,
I'm sorry, healing moment for what? I'm sorry, what?
The entire Giants coaching tree from the last 15 years.
Right.
You've got to bring in. I think we got to go get Ray Handley. You got to bring him back. You got to get maybe
Ray Handley has a better record than all of these guys in the last.
That's a good point.
Maybe out there.
Bring in Bill Sheridan. Get Pat Shurmur back as offensive coordinator. Joe Judge can be something. I don't know, special teams guy. You got to go get these guys. We got to go bring them. We got to get the band back together, like all of them. Like we literally need to get the misfits of science together.
Is Optimus trolling tonight, or is he? Tom Coughlin also is cognitively impaired. Seriously, I mean these guys are old. Have you? Look, I love Tom Coughlin.
You gotta warn somebody before you say. Although, in all honesty, I would trust Tom Coughlin before I trust Bill Belichick.
So would I. But again,
at least you're not gonna have a 24-year-old hooker on the sidelines.
At the end of the line here. I mean,
yeah, no, it's. All right, so let's real quick. Because I do want to keep this somewhat tight. Because
I'm the one who brought the name up. I am.
No, it's good. No, it's good. It's good. So we have a game this weekend. Weather's going to be bad. Oh, let's talk about your favorite.
We got to wrap this up because my wife said be done by around now for dinner. So
okay, all right. We'll keep it tight. Let's talk real quick about the Giants kicking situation.
Steve Owen. Oh, that's good. All right, that made my day. Okay, sorry.
Wow, you could. You could. Like,
by the way, that man is everyone who says who should be on the Giants Mount Rushmore of Mount Rushmores. Steve Owens should be on there. No one ever thinks of Steve. The man coached the Giants for 25, 30 years. I mean, anyways, and he played for them. So, okay, sorry.
No, you're fine. I just wanted you to talk a little bit about the Giants kicking situation going into this.
Oh my God. Can you believe this? It's unbelievable. It's still going.
Well, you know what's really bad about this situation, and it's more, and I'm not making a joke about it. I'm being serious. When Graham Gano says something that he shouldn't have said, which is he felt this prior to the 49er game, that he felt a little twinge in his neck last week. You go and show me where the Giants have it listed anywhere that he had a little bit of a neck thing. Yeah. So if you already had something, you went into a game with a guy with a potential neck problem, right?
Or he didn't tell the training staff he had a neck problem.
It sounded like, why would you tell people in an interview if you didn't already tell somebody? the way the Giants handle injuries, the way Daboll handles injuries, it's pathetic and embarrassing, really. I mean, at this point, it's embarrassing. I know you can't count on Graham Gano's going to pull a muscle before a game, but you can predict that it may happen in any game because it's happened before and he's old and you're paying him a lot of money. But if you knew about the neck last week and you played him anyway, you're hoping, and he misses a kick, which, by the way, was the wind that bad that he was playing the wind? I don't remember that at all.
No.
I don't even remember that coming up.
No.
If what would have happened if there was like a blocked extra point or a blocked field goal and Gano goes to get involved and then he gets injured and it turns out that he had already had a neck problem coming into the game? Those things don't sneak up on you, by the way. It's literally going to put him on IR probably for the rest of the year.
This regime has a complete inability to learn lessons. And this is just another example. But the same thing with the Denver loss being similar to the Dallas loss. We can go down the line, but they don't learn their lessons. What?
Past performance is a predictor of future results.
They don't learn their lessons, and it's unbelievable. This is like the third or fourth time this kicker thing is, and they don't seem to learn their lesson. I mean, it's
with the same guy too. Like,
it's like,
Jesus Christ.
And I put it in the preview last week. I said, why do I have a feeling we haven't seen the end of this? And we haven't seen the end of this. So look, he probably will go on IR tomorrow, and this will be the end of his career with the Giants. So my guess, they've got so many people that are out and hurt. Look, they're screwed. Let's not even talk about the coaching problems, the people that are on IR, the morale problems. They've got like 20 people on the injury list right now, and their center's out, the corner's still out, Dable's still out. You can go down the list. It's just all these people are out. It's going to be a shit show on Sunday. So, anyways, on that note, what do you want? How do you want to end this?
Well, I want to end it. Yeah, I'm gonna end this real quick. Did you see it all on X, where there's this one guy who keeps posting all this stuff about very negative about Daboll with supposed behind the scenes stuff, and constantly
I saw someone start a thread on it and BBI, and somebody was saying this is Shane's kid. I don't.
Yeah, the general could say, I'm going to say this: that dude, whoever's posting it, first off, you're an idiot. The things that you say are so unbelievably stupid. And then tried to go in another direction. I'm not part of the Shane family, but you have all this inside information. When this stuff happens, this is when a pathetic organization where everything begins to show. It's just ripe for this stuff. It's just such a bad look at the moment that I can't imagine really what is the answer if you're John Mara, and we're not going to have time to give this full thing, right. But what is the answer that John Mara is going to come up with that's going to change all this other than I think clearly you've got to change kind of who's making the decisions. Meaning, I don't think you can be making a lot of the decisions. And we don't know that he is, by the way. We think he does. It's given enough information that says he probably is. But if he really wanted to, he could have made sure that Saquon Barkley never left here. He absolutely could have done that. He could have given him all the money in the world and said, no, you're not letting that dude go. We're going to pay him no matter what. That could have happened. It didn't. But he meddles enough. But he meddles enough. He meddles enough. The influence is enough that I think it does hold them back. So the real question becomes how much more gets leaked out, and you can see the division. There's enough stacking up where, Shane has done this and done this and done this, and Daboll is bad. The players are sleeping in meetings and they hate Bowen, and that's all Daboll and blah, blah, blah. The division's there. It's just a matter of where it's coming from.
Yeah, pay attention to Paul Schwartz. They'll leak stuff to create a narrative there. Art Stapleton seems to carry the water for the franchise a lot now.
Big time.
So basically, just keep an eye because they'll get their. You said we might have Dan Duggan come on soon. He may have burned some bridges with his recent writings, so I'm actually encouraged to have him come on and talk about that. Sai's coming on as well, and he's always a great draw for people who want to hear what he has to say. So we got some good shows coming up. It just sucks. We got 8 games of this. I mean, people are like, why haven't you guys done a show? You guys want to? You guys want to hear us do this for twice a week? Just bitch and moan. My wife gets at home.
Yeah, we'll have stuff to look forward to. Cy is going to be on Monday, so we will have Cy on Monday. That'll be a lot of fun. Looking forward to asking some questions. Maybe look ahead to some players. Let's get some. I don't know how much we have to focus on the Giants coaching staff. I think we're all on board that the coaching staff needs to go. But I think let's start looking ahead because this team's going to have to make some changes. It does have some quality players. We did not make a move at the trading deadline. I doubt you were surprised at that. I kind of felt like
I was, and I didn't think we'd be buyers. I thought we might be sellers. I thought we would be buyers if we'd won some of those games that we didn't win.
Yes, I think so too.
But the only thing I don't know is there's still people posting stuff out there that there was still interest in some of our garbage, and we didn't want to part ways with it. I don't know if that's true or not. So there was a thing today, somebody that the Colts were sniffing around Deontay Banks. So
but that doesn't mean that they were offering. They were going, "What do you want for him?" And the Giants probably like, "Hey, we want a 6th round pick or a 5th round pick." And they're like, "But keep in mind too, the Giants have nobody at cornerback right now."
That's true too. But
I would get rid of him if it was me. But you can't. I mean, you're literally going to go. We're going to get rid of this guy to pick some guy off the scrap heap to play. You're telling the rest of the team it's over. Maybe they just felt like it wasn't worth it. And it might actually save them money to cut them in the offseason for next year versus accelerating money into the cap this year if you were to get rid of them. So there is some things to think about that one.
I'm not going to call them the way that you want me to call them just because you keep saying that. You keep posting that I'm supposed to phonetically spell it the way you spell it. I'm not going to do it. I thought he had a really good chance to rebound. I thought he had been unlucky, but I was wrong about that. So were the Giants. So that was one of the ones I got wrong. I thought since he was already under contract, and if they felt his injuries were past him, it was sunk cost at that point. But the first sniff that he was doing this again, that would have been it. And they're still doing it. So remember, he was already on IR already. He comes back off IR, and he's got a new. Anyways, so yes,
well, keep in mind too. Younghoe Koo had for a while until recently. He had a very good record kicking in the dome. Not as great outside.
No, that's why he got cut. That's why he got cut for a reason. So
and this is bad weather potentially.
Yeah, I know. So this isn't going to end. But John, it's not going to really matter anyways.
I just go for 2 every time.
We're gonna lose on Sunday like 45-17. I mean, it's going to be a beat down because the defense has quit, and their coach is going to embarrass the shit out of us on offense. They're just going to. I'm not a real believer in their quarterback, but so he may save us. But if he plays halfway decent, they're just gonna. And it's not because we don't have talent. It's just we got injuries plus the defense has quit. So and then Dart's got receivers who can't catch the ball and an uncreative coach. So it'll be
real quick before I end it to
2 extra points
to appease the request in chat. I'm assuming if the beatdown happens,
I'm sorry.
No. To appease the chat question, I'm going to assume this is how things are going to look if the Giants get a beatdown in Chicago.
It's not funny. In fact, it's pretty freaking unfunny. Ow!
But that's not the problem. People aren't getting angry anymore. They're just not watching. There are people on BBI that have been on the site for 30 years who have said, I did something else during the game. Yeah. I checked the score every now and then, but I had other, I didn't watch the game. I mean, these are people that never missed a game.
And I don't miss
our age.
I don't miss, but yeah, and I won't, but it's a sickness.
Oh, we can't because of this. But
it's a sickness for me, even if we didn't
run the site and I wasn't doing this, I'd be tempted to be like, it's a beautiful day. What am I doing this? anyways.
So if that being said, we do have Cy coming on Monday night. If you could do me a huge favor, though, for those of you who have it, if you could just make sure you like the videos, it really helps us with numbers and with YouTube and all that good stuff. Yes, and the algorithm stuff, especially with Cy coming on. I'd love to have it reach beyond our group because I think Cy's a lot of fun, a lot of information, and people really like. And I want to make sure all you as well who can be on, post your questions. I'm going to try to share as many as I can, but we're going to try to keep it going, keep it lively and fun. But with that being said, I mean, I'd like to say go Big Blue, but at this point,
hey, if they win, we'll come on and we'll celebrate. But
yeah,
just holding my breath.
Just overall, just please don't get hurt, Jaxson Dart. Please, please don't get hurt.
Knock on wood. Knock on wood. Knock on wood.
And with that, we're out of here. We'll catch you on Monday.